training on easy ways to play a lot of different chords. So the first chord we're going to work on is E. Now, most guitars know E, but I would venture to guess that most guitars probably play E like this, which is perfectly fine. It's acceptable. It's totally fine. And don't be confused, by the way, about this capo right here. I just happen to have the guitar tuned down a whole step, so I put the capo on at the 2nd fret, and it just makes for the action to be better on this guitar. So everything that I'm going to show you, we're pretending as though this is the nut. The nut is really right here, but I'm tuned down a whole step, so I'm still in standard tuning because I have the capo there. It just puts me in standard tuning. Alright, so this is your E shape right here. Alright, and most guitars play it like that, but usually I don't anymore. I usually use my 3rd and 4th fingers on the 5th and 4th strings respectively, and then my 2nd finger I put down here on the 3rd string, okay, on G sharp. Alright, so you get your E chord. So why do I do that? I do that because I'm going to use this shape to create bar chords. Like this would be your E shape, what I call E shaped F. Right. Now what's important about this shape, and I'm actually going to move F sharp, we'll go from G right here. Right. What's important about this shape is that from this shape you can get half a dozen chords or so. Now let me show you how you do that. So this is an E major chord, and when you play this chord, you'll notice when I practice it, just checking every single string to see that each string rings clearly. If I'm like this and I go, then that tells me something's wrong. So I check one string at a time to make sure all of the notes are there, nice and clear. Okay, so from this one chord, E major, not to bore you too much with the theory, but here's the root, this is the 5th, and this is also the octave. And then this note on the 3rd string is G sharp, which is the 3rd. Then you have a 5th and a root here. So what I'm going to do is, what makes a major chord is that its relationship to the root is a major 3rd away from the root. That's what gives it that sound. Now if I take my 2nd finger off, so now my finger's floating in outer space, I've made a minor chord. Okay? So here's major and here's minor. Alright, all I did was lift my 2nd finger off, and that makes it into a minor chord. Let's go back to the major for a second. So from this shape, if I simply take off my pinky now, I get what's called a 7th chord. You can also just place your pinky down on the, you can place it on the 3rd fret away from where you're barring on the 2nd string. You'll also get a 7th chord. You'll just be doubling the 7th. But suffice it to say, if you have this E shape, G, and then you take your pinky off, my pinky looks like it might be touching something, but it's not. It's just floating in outer space here. That's called a 7th chord. It's a G7. And if you know this version of G7, you can tell that it sounds the same. Alright, some people play it like this. But the nice thing about this version is that if you wanted to do an A7, for example, and you just move up 2 frets to the right and take off your pinky, and you've got A7. Let's go back to G here. G, G7. Now, here is the 7th also on the 2nd string. This is the 7th, but if I scoot this finger over 1 fret to the left, then I get what's called a 6th chord, G6. kind of a jazzy sound to it. All right. Now, 7th, 6th. From this pinky alone, I can just drop it down onto the first string, and I get what's called a 9th chord. All right, so major, 7th, 6th, 9th chord. Okay. Now watch this. If I take off my my second finger and my pinky, I get what's called a minor 7th chord. So here's the 7th chord, and by just taking off my second finger, I'm making it into a minor, and because I took my pinky off, that exposed the 7th under here. So that's a minor 7th chord. You can also play minor 7th like this. Again, this finger's not being used for anything. Okay, and again, if I scoot this finger next to the 7th, one note before the 7th is the 6th. Okay, so from this one chord, the major, the E-shaped G chord, I got G, G7, G6, and G9. Okay, now if I take off my second finger, then I get G minor 7, like that also as well, and G minor 6, and also G minor 9. Okay, that's a lot of chords practice, so work it.